I often fear that part of those montage or collage of images when they're passing by, somebody's going to point out Mundami or maybe that Hepstein fellow, whatever his name is. I just feel like there's moments where we should be concerned. But no, I am not VashSky. Truer stories have never been told. But I like Vash. He's a good friend, and he's done an extraordinary job launching his new channel. I hope you guys are all subscribed. But for this evening, I'm your humble host, Culture Casino, and as we get a building audience, thank you, Pro, for sending everybody over. We might eventually become the political conversation on T3PO, because tonight we have a lot of subjects that are going to dip in between the difference between entertainment and politics, because they all seem to be one and the same, considering entertainment companies own news sources, and well, oftentimes they're more entertainment than the news is. But without further ado, I have to say hello to probably the smartest guy I know. His name is Lew Wasserman's Ghost, and he joins us this evening to talk about the crazy we're all subjected to on the daily.
Oh,
hey, Lew.
I will bet dollars to donuts, as they say, that you know smarter people than me. My boy, there are men out there smarter than me, but there's one thing I've got they haven't got: a long memory.
I have to tell you that went. My memory went with the fluoride I drank in tap water. So let's not even get into that.
There were better chemicals in that era than fluoride.
There were far better chemicals than what we have these days. But we've got a great audience out there. It's great to see Idiot Box and One Punch Man Tolkien fan. What am I doing? I'm doing this show. With again, the entertainment guru I will call Lew Wasserman's Ghost. Wolfie is out there. Great to see you, Wolfie. And many others. Of course, Juliet's out there wrenching away.
The best. I can
actually hear
to all the great wrenches. Juliet tuning in from far across the sea.
B-Man is out there. I mean, Juliet's doing it from, across the pond, but B-Man's doing it right here in North America, as far as I know. And look, culture puts me to sleep. Well, thank you for that. You must half the battle. I feel like you might have watched one battle after another. That's what put you to sleep. Anyway, look, I'm not going to be a love letter to the anti-FA folks, but what I will be is the moderator for tonight's discussion. And whether or not you enjoy my dulcet tones, I will tell you I enjoy this man, and I will defer to him on any and every subject. We have a lot going on for the last few weeks, no matter whether or not we try to get away from it. Netflix is trying to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. I would prefer Paramount acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, but that doesn't matter. It's what does the government think? And right now, the government doesn't think too highly of this situation, which is one of our main subjects tonight. But let's skip to the idea that that's going to wait for a minute. And we have to address the elephant in the room, and that's Trump's not necessarily love of media. And you were guilty of sending me something I found rather humorous. Perhaps I shouldn't have. Perhaps this reflects poorly on me, but Caitlan Collins is not necessarily one of Donald Trump's favorite people.
Yeah, and
she happened to make the thumbnail tonight, so it's probably something we should talk about.
All right,
but before we get started, I have a lovely super duper chat for you to read. Here you go.
Culture, why do you never talk about your dad who played the guy rowing the boat on the crude oil tanker bottom in Waterworld movie?
I don't talk about Dad very much. I probably should and give him a lot more
Have they all heard my Waterworld story?
No, you should probably tell it right now.
Well, I was doing a show at Paramount when Waterworld was being done. And there is this thing at Paramount that if you have one of those shots of the looking in the front gate, you can kind of see it in the background, called B Tank. And what it is a parking lot that goes down about 4 feet below surface. with a big sky sight behind it. It's where they had the Klingon ship and the whales and the Star Trek movie. Lots of aquatic stuff done there. God, what was that jungle thing? Congo, where they had. I watched them do that there too.
That was Marshall's. That was Marshall's production. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But what they were doing for Waterworld was that along the left side, if you're facing V-Tank and the Psyche, they had a big rusty wall that was supposed to simulate the side of a big oil tanker that was part of the bad guy's lair. And the idea was that they were going to shoot 2 stuntmen on Sea-Doos through a breakaway portion of that wall and have them fly over and splash in the water.
Oh, wow.
Great idea, huh?
No.
Except I am somewhat familiar with everything, as you know. I am a jack of all trades.
Yes, you are.
And as me and my crew were heading for the commissary, walking past them, setting it all up to be done shortly after darkness fell, I looked at these 2 Sea-Doos, which they had drained all the fuel out of to make them very light.
They have to be light because that's not a big tank.
No, well, but wait, there's more. And they were on these tracks with these huge air rams that were going to blow these things down,
to blast them out.
Over.
Holy cow!
Exactly, because they didn't want anything pyrotechnic for fear it would catch somebody on fire. You know. Well, on the other side of B-Tank from this fake wall, across a few rows of parking, is a 4-story office building. And
it has a bit of. It has all the classic elements of cornices and everything else on the exterior.
But what it also has is a lot of windows facing that tank.
It does.
And as they were setting this up, I turned to my crew and said, "That's too much air for this distance." And they all looked at me like, what do you know? What do you know? They're professionals. They're experts.
Oh, those poor stunt guys.
So we went and had dinner, and we came back and watched as they shot this. Lights, camera, action.
Yeah, shot. And
luckily, the stunt guys wised up, and as they were going across the water, they jumped off and fell in the water and were not hurt. But the Sea-Doos went right on across the tank and through the windows of the offices on the other side.
Oh, I can see.
I earned a whole new level of respect from my crew that night, I got to tell you, because they all looked like, how did you know? And I just smiled and said,
What people don't know about that pool is there's a ramp to get into it, because when it's not being used as a water feature, it's a parking lot. It's a back-to-back angular parking lot, and it's also a place where they land the helicopter occasionally. So that's an entirely different conversation.
But again, I think it's probably most known to genre film fans as where Kirk and the whales all swim around, and like that. But it's anyway, that was Waterworld, and that was kind of. And I heard that one of the huge expenses when they shot most of Waterworld off Hawaii. They had all these 30 caliber machine guns on these various boats shooting at each other. And of course they were blanks, but a 30 cal ejects its cartridges, even though the bullet isn't there. The rest of it is.
Yeah.
They had to pay hard hat underwater divers to go down and pick up
and collect all the brass. Yeah.
Which caused a fortune.
It did. It absolutely did.
That movie died.
Do you know how much of the money that they used all of the steel in the North Pacific or in South Pacific at the time to build the sets for Waterworld in that Hawaiian location? So we can get into it, but it's crazy. That movie was ridiculous before we even understood.
And yet, it has been and deserves to be one of the most popular attractions on the Universal Studio Tour.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because bit where the airplane flies over the top and splashes down is, wow, you couldn't write a better finale. So,
you also can't imagine how much precision that takes. And this is why. Like, if you think about that particular stunt show versus the Indiana Jones one that Disney does, how did the control systems for Disney become so antiquated and the ones at Universal didn't?
Oh, what's that magic word? Starts with an M and ends in maintenance.
Yeah, maintenance is a problem. And and look, I don't think that's going to change under tomorrow, because everybody remind yourself who was in charge of the parks for the last... Well, the little bit since Chapek was in charge of the parks. I don't think he's going to last very long, Lou. And we can talk.
But see, I heard a lot of the guys on the Pro Show just before speculating on that, and that Dana Walden was planning his ouster. But I look at it this way: that board with Gorman and Johnston has gone through all kinds of deliberation and very, very public about it to pick the next person.
Yeah,
they have a vested interest in him sticking around, or else they look like they're the same idiots who did it last time.
Well,
so I think he'll stick around. I think there will be control, but I don't rate her chances as high as other people's do. So
I think she feels like she can out Susan Arnold, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
so,
that is, and it gets
all right.
Stuff that would take us too long to set up the backstory. So,
and that's the problem. Today I was watching a podcast. I'm not sure if you caught this one, Lou. You and I seem to have similar tastes in podcasts. I was watching Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah,
and I think
I didn't see it, but I've watched him on occasion.
As a businessman, he's pretty solid, but he surrounds himself with people I think are less qualified. I'm being kind. I mean, I like them all; they're fine. But sometimes they
make him look smart, don't they?
Well, I mean,
he is smart, but there's a method to his madness. Is all I'm saying.
They're not speaking within the frame of their knowledge base. Let's just say it that way and leave it there. They had a guest on, and they missed out on what was actually happening all around this particular deal and why things happen. And I actually typed in a text message. You can go back and look at the chat, because if they have live chat available, I'm pretty sure. It's funny. I said, I say it here, and magically it ends up being said over there. Because one of the guests caught on to what I was saying and figured out, oh yeah, we have to take a look at the broader aspects of this and the board members and who controls them. Yeah, no kidding. It's all the institutional investors, you chuckleheads. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was just trying to make a point. And
well, there is a lot of controversy swirling, and I'm not going to claim any insider knowledge, only what I've seen documented and reported. That the reason why Big Bob suddenly made an El Quico exit before even the end of the year.
Oh, we already know.
Well, okay, but bear with me here. What we know is that there was an issue about a certain island and about Disney Cruise Line doing tours to said island.
That's only one part of it. But
that's only one part of it, yes. But all this time, when the how shall I say this? Left and right, I guess. when the left people have been saying, "Why didn't you release the Epsteins? Surely Trump is in there somewhere. That's why you won't release him."
No.
To which the right replied, "If he was in there when you controlled him for 4 years, you sure as heck would have released him because you were doing everything you could to hurt him."
Yeah.
But we have all said that Bob Iger had delusions. I call them delusions. He would call them aspirations.
Well, I mean,
of political
grandeur only comes in two flavors, but okay.
Well, he wanted to be a president of the United States. He wanted to be the left's Elon Musk, if you will, or But what if they saw all that and said, if we release any of it, that stuff is going to come out. And if that stuff comes out, we lose him and a bunch of other people. And if that was the real reason, not anything to do with Trump per se, that they kept the lid on. And if so, the idea that they thought it would stay on, I mean, I just heard, I haven't seen this, but I heard Pro mentioning just before that show ended that apparently there's a picture of Trump with his daughter when she was 14, 15, and they're putting it out as if she was some anonymous girl from the island, which of course she wasn't. I mean, that's really a reach. These people. Anyway, I suspect that protecting Bob and others was the real reason for suppressing those papers. And the idea that they thought they could get away with it afterwards just shows they never thought they were going to lose. They never thought they were going to lose. And surprise, surprise.
But see, here's the problem, and this is the I think the issue with old media. They think they still maintain a level of relevance and control. I mean, everybody knows who Anderson Cooper is, right? Everybody knows he's a Vanderbilt, which actually they don't have any money anymore, but that's a bigger conversation.
Well, they have some, just not like
not what they used to have. They don't even own the Breakers anymore on the Hamptons.
Poor babies.
I'm just saying.
They're down to their last couple $100 million, I think. So it's really a shame.
Well, then they have to divide it up amongst all of them. I mean, that's what's a couple $100 million between.
Yeah,
families?
You have to remember back in the day when all these so-called robber barons or captains of industry or whatever term in between you want to use were in business, there was a very high child mortality rate in this country, in every country. So they had lots and lots of kids to insure themselves against not having heirs. And they have some, and they have two, and they have four.
And a lot of people make errors in those errors.
Yes.
Anyway, there's
no
a lot
runs,
of R's
no hits, no errors.
So true. Okay.
Anyway,
we're deviating.
Yes,
so you and I can easily do so because again, talking about business, politics, and entertainment, no matter what, they cross over. So we have to talk about the news business. It's a business. It is, and for a long time, people tried to delude themselves and think that maybe they remain unbiased at all times. A lot of people thought very highly of people like Walter Cronkite, thinking there's no way this guy has ever been compromised in his life, and come to find out, well, that may not necessarily have been.
He was very good at hiding it. He understood the importance of seeming to be a neutral, above it all person.
One of the elements of acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery is acquiring what used to be the biggest news network at the time, even though it was a cable network, which was CNN. CNN has been responsible for, the worst of the worst in the world, including Don Lemon, who was recently arrested for being silly, very, very silly. But
I would like to not trivialize it that much. He was arrested for committing a crime, several crimes.
Well, two felonies, okay, just two felonies. Remember, misdemeanors, according to Don Lemon, are not crimes.
Right.
Okay, everybody calm down. So,
when is a crime not a crime? When it's a lemon.
Anyway, so let's. So Trump ended up, and you sent me this, so this is all your fault. Lube. This is all your fault. You sent me this moment where Donald Trump is sparring with the worst of the worst, Caitlan Collins. Sorry.
She's bad. Whether there's an absolute title for worst or worst, I don't know.
I don't know, but she's no bueno, and she's trying to elude, as they have been always, including the BBC and many of the publications that have tried to use one particular picture of Donald Trump with the Prince of Darkness, the Island Boy himself. Over to that guy, the Island Boy. So let me pull
when
in.
You call him the Island Boy, I see him in a straw hat playing with a calypso band. It's just
and you should, because that's going to be NFL entertainment. But that's a video on my channel tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Trump spars with CNN's Caitlan Collins. You can find this over on Real Clear Politics right now. It's just
a great place, by the way.
It's a nice
sides.
And look, and while this was in my feed, you sent it to me, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely, we're going to talk about this tonight. But look, he attacked the White House correspondent, Caitlan Collins, because she's a faithless actor. She's disingenuous in what she does and in her job. So we're going to watch this clip. This is coming out of Fox News. And again, since we're going through a secondary third party, I feel pretty confident we're going to be fine. I'm going to show it, and I want your real-time reaction. The dialogue's recorded below in transcript form, so if you want to follow along with us on your own web browser, you can. But here we go.
10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know.
Okay, I need to rewind because apparently I shouldn't start there.
Yeah, what do you want?
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing. A lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who were.
Okay, so right there. And I know the volume's a little lower here, lower than we would hope for. But he said, look, I'm sure everybody that's in here that you're trying to attach me to or attach bad behavior to is fine, because otherwise there'd be major headlines and there'd be, larger elements of news to it. He's saying, so Lutnick being in there, if you read the context, it's fine. If you read anybody else that's in there, it's fine. And that's what Trump is saying here. But she goes on to push against it with more bologna sausage. Now, normally news people have their stuff buttoned up when they go in to try to make a point or to suggest a question or anything else. She's just suggesting wrongdoing with that presentation, right? It's disingenuous.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a fancy word for BS.
Yeah. So we'll keep going, but this has become a theme this last several days because of Ted Sarandos' conversation with Congress. The Judiciary Committee decided to not necessarily be super nice to him, but we'll keep going.
Our survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than there was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country. Okay, so he pivots and says, people, he doesn't say this directly, but people like you and others in the activist media, not the normal media, not the news media, activist media, didn't get your pound of flesh because there was nothing there to be found. We should move on to something else. And, she doesn't realize what's happening, because around the globe, and I'm sure you would agree, would you say that this actually harmed more of the international left and the leftists than anything else?
They hitched their wagon to stars that don't exist, and they should know better that they don't exist. I mean, that's just the history of their tactics.
So this, you would agree then that this took out not just Keir Starmer, but a lot of his allies and, in his own government, most recently, and most especially this Mendelsohn fella who's.
Did you see Starmer came out and said he knew the guy was involved with Epstein?
That's bad.
So if you did, why did you still make him an ambassador, Mr. Prime Minister?
I don't know. And the real question,
we have bad people on our side. When we find them, we ostracize them, we isolate them, we kick them out, and we prosecute them.
I think we point them out, to be fair. But look, I mean, Sean's right. I mean, the former artist here, known as John Cusack, he's correct in the highlighted quote here. He says, the real question the compromised mainstream news media will never answer is who took over Island Boy. Probably a good question.
Well, yeah, good question.
Yeah.
And all of these papers that are coming out, somebody in the Biden-Harris retinue has read them all first, because they had them for 4 years to look at. Why would they not?
Well, and I guess this is what Trump's whole point is. If there was something there, they would have taken the opportunity to release specific pieces of information.
Sure.
That's just how much they don't like this guy. It's just weird. Anyway.
Anyway.
Something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what do you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten
You are so bad.
No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization.
Yeah, but tell us how you really feel, Mr. President.
I don't think he held anything back, and this clip. Look. I'm going to pull it off the screen because I feel like it's not fair. Like somebody's playing tennis and the other person's playing ping pong, and it's just not great great optics.
And what's really amazing is that she and her overlords somehow think she's winning, somehow think she's holding her own, when the world is saying, and clicking off of CNN more and more every day.
This is true. Mark's like, Trump's like, you suck, lady. He kind of is. It's just, look, I feel like everybody's over it in Trump realizes
let's see,
that now.
What he said about you suck, lady. Let's talk about that just for a second.
Okay.
If any one of us had somebody like this hassling us that way,
yeah,
we would react exactly the same way he is. Maybe not as eloquently, but that would be our reaction. And that's why he wins, because he's the most powerful man in the world. He's the president of the United States. He's worth billions of dollars. And yet he acts like a regular fella who says, come on, lady, you still selling this drivel? Find a new hobby horse, And,
and I think
that leads to how bored we are with all of this leftist stuff.
But it's not. Here's the thing, and this is the other conversation that you and I are definitely qualified to talk about. It leads to something called no sale. You can't sell anything if you don't have anything to sell. There's no saleable goods. And this is a huge problem for media right now. And it doesn't matter if you're CNN and you work for a news organization, or it doesn't matter if you're Disney or Warner Brothers or anybody else.
Well, earlier this evening, I was watching Trish Reagan showing Whoopi talking about Don Lemon and saying, if they can get him, they can get us, in reaction to the fact that, quote unquote, we won't have Bob to protect us anymore.
Well, of course.
These things.
She's not wrong, but ultimately, here's the thing. You can only sell what's a commodity, something people are willing to buy. Nobody's buying anything these days when it comes to entertainment. You and I and a lot of our compatriots talk about the lack of business acumen in producing film and television these days. People don't understand that they're selling a commodity and a product, something that's supposed to be consumed and paid for so that we can make more money, because that's how the capitalist system works.
Wait. Melania.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The great documentary.
Biggest documentary return in an opening weekend in 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
But that's not the number that matters.
No.
The number that matters in the 4 days of the opening premiere, including Monday, it made more money than 5 of the Oscar-nominated Best Pictures have total.
Which is insane.
I mean, what does it tell you? It tells you all those Oscar-nominated pictures, nobody cares enough to go buy a ticket.
Well, and here's the thing, and you know this because you're a voter, and I know this because I know this for reasons I won't disclose, but oftentimes voters are sent, if they want, free copies of anything that they could possibly vote on.
Any one of 150 movies and TV shows if I wanted to.
Right, exactly. And the whole point is so that you can rate them, to vote on them, to give them a shot at a nomination or an award. And that's how, this is going to sound bad, and I'm sorry, Lou, I'm not taking a shot at you.
No, just tell me what you're saying.
It's valueless now because people aren't voting on the quality of the thing that they're sent, or even that they can't even confirm that they've seen the thing beginning to end. This is the other problem I have with the voting structure. But they're voting on the politics behind something more than they are anything else. And that's been happening now for the better part of 15 years. And it doesn't work. At least a decade at the very minimum. If you go back to Ghostbusters 2015 and work forward into 2025, that's a decade of just dilapidated material being produced by Hollywood. And I'm not even.
How many times can people buy a ticket, go spend a fortune, and walk away saying, "Well, I'm sure glad we didn't do that. Too bad we did," and just next time have to weigh the decision. Yeah. And what gets me, let's see, can I get membership? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah. No, we'll get there in a minute. I just want to.
But anyway, we'll get there. But what I was going to say was, these people are so inside baseball, they haven't got a clue what everybody wants.
No,
I gave the example. I mentioned it within our private backstage chat of everybody here on the channels today. I'm just looking through Amazon, and I see the one-line blurb advertising the original British version of House of Cards. And what does it say? What does it appeal to my instincts as a viewer that it thinks is going to make me want to watch? It says award-winning political drama with fourth wall breaks. First of all, how many people even know what that is? Second of all, that's going to make me watch it?
Yeah, it's not
an inside
Deadpool.
baseball. No, but I mean, but that's not the point. Is they use the vocabulary of, hey, we're insiders, when nobody else cares. You know?
Well,
I mean, they just
but it's a rip.
A tip to the screener people.
Sure.
When I get an ad for a screener and the description of the movie has the word dysfunctional family in it, I don't watch it.
No.
Doesn't mean I don't appreciate drama and serious stuff. It just means, we all got enough of that. Why would you put out 30, 40 movies about the same thing?
How about producing a film on a functional family? I dare you.
Hey.
No, but
it
look,
faces challenges, but overcomes them because they have love. Because they have
it's because they work as a family unit. Yeah, and they don't understand that because most of them come from ridiculous backgrounds themselves. And they think that everybody does, which isn't true. Anyway, this super
Let's put
chat.
it this way. The Corleones had more family values than 99% of the families in movies today.
Oh, so true. Anyway, this one's for you, my friend. This super chat's for you. And there we go, from Snarky, who loves us and loves Pro a lot too.
I don't know. Good evening, Culture and Lou. Appreciate the show. Question: can I gift membership with my phone to VR and others, but not here? TPP or Pro Show? Any ideas? iPhone? I don't know.
I honestly don't know unless because I don't control the overall quote unquote channel. I'll ask, but it's possible that membership gifting is not enabled on this channel. So
it is, of course, on my Patreon.
Yeah, you can go.
So you can go there and buy gift memberships for people at $5 a head. That's a pretty good deal. Yeah. Or for yourself if you're not a member yet. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and you're missing out on a lot, and you're going to miss out on a valuable vintage conversation.
At least one.
Multiple. Because I have cabinets full of wine, my friend. So
I did. I moved here with 28 cases.
Oh,
and I'm down to about the last case and a half. I have.
When I go to the family vineyards, I usually bring boxes back.
Yeah.
So
we have a son who's a truck driver, and we had visions of all flying out, renting a truck, going to all the vineyards I love, packing it up, and then we'll fly home and he can drive it back. So.
Hey, look, I love family bootlegging. That sounds like the next great, American adventure film.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, we got another $2 super duper chat, or I think this is £2 or.
Yes, looks like £2.
Yeah.
Head to bed. My God, it's.
Well, my friend over there.
You're on the night shift. Wow.
He's zombie box. It's the middle of the night, brother. I mean, when Juliet's here, we know she's up early in the morning. You should be asleep already. And of course, we'll see you tomorrow over on Mr. H's Hcast for Mr. H Reviews, regular show with myself, Marvin the Monster Montanero, of course, and Nick from Echo Base Network. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time. So a quick hello to Graybeard before I head to bed.
And hey, if you want a serenade to send you off to bed, Zombie Box Reviews.
Oh, there you go.
Go look in our description. Last time we got so caught up in, hey, we're doing it again.
We forgot it. It's my fault. It's my fault.
We forgot to give you the jukebox. So this time we've got two jukebox selections, both about conflict, but in different eras and different kinds. we have the music. This guy named Soundtrack Fred, by the way, on here on YouTube, does wonderful 10, 12, 14-minute suites of the great scores. And so one of these is his of the Battle of Britain with the Aces High March, which was the famous theme from that. And the other one is of Horatio Hornblower by a composer you may not know. So go listen to those, and I think you'll enjoy the music. It's in the description. It says Lew's Hollywood Backlot Jukebox or something like that.
Yeah.
And enjoy.
go check them out. Both of them were great. Lou sends me the stuff in advance. I'm usually listening to it when I'm setting everything up. So look, I love this. I'm sad that Vash decided that he couldn't do this right now while he's getting everything in his world set up. But I'm grateful to be here because Lou's one of my favorate people on the planet,
and vice versa.
Yeah, and
even
look,
without vice versa.
Sean went to go look up Culture Casino. It's not my vineyards; it's family vineyards, and I'm going to say Culture and Casino are not in the vineyard name.
No, well, you know,
but
you got to be careful.
My family's.
I remember when Geraldine Ferraro was running for vice president, and they found out that her husband owned a warehouse in New York that was the main porn warehouse for the mafia, and they said we have good. They said we have good news and bad news about Geraldine. The good news is she's pro-family. The bad news, it's the Gambino family. But anyway.
Oh boy. No. Look, in my family, I have qualified winemakers. Let's say it that way. And it's been that way for decades in my family. Not only that, we are of adventure sports people, professional athletes. I mean, my family's full of a lot of interests. So someday when I can reveal myself, probably after my relocation to the beautiful Smoky. Are they Smoky Mountains?
They are indeed.
I feel like they might be Smoky Mountains. Then
the Appalachia of your eye.
Exactly, and I might even grow my own vines because I learned so very much.
But here you're going to grow muscadine and vines.
Well, I'm a huge fan of ice vine. In fact, I've brewed. I have brewed everything from mead to various beers, but my favorite thing ever was an ice vine, and my second favorite was a pomegranate port.
Yeah, now I heard you mention that one before, and I'm mystified. So you'll have to tell me about that.
No, I'll make it for you.
Even better.
It's very easy. It's not.
Even better.
Honestly, it takes me about a year to get high quality yield. That I would feel proud of.
But I mean, is it made strictly from pomegranates, or is
100% pomegranate. I actually use the proper yeast for a non grape.
Yeast matters.
Yeah,
yeast
it does.
Matters.
Yeast is very important. Our good friend Sean out there sent us this one.
Oh God, have you got an hour? What are your favorite wines? My God, Sean, it's. Well, let me tell you a little story. My wife was an Air Force brat and grew up all over Europe. And when she met me in California, and she said, by the way, I want you to know I grew up on very good wine over there. And I said, I don't think you'll be disappointed. And she continues to say to this day, all these years later, that she never has been. So, I love good wine, and there's a lot of good wine, and some of them are ones you've never heard of. And we've made two recommendations on the shows lately, both of which flying colors.
They rave about them. Yeah.
Look,
if you're going to host a fancy dinner party, or at least just one where you want to impress family or friends or whatever, or even business associates, reach out to Lou on his Patreon. He's going to give you
just
guidance.
Know that in some cases the really good stuff I've got you can't get, because I got it through wine clubs at very small vineyards. And so,
I that's actually one of the best things that I've ever done is go to a private tasting to acquire bottles. But
for example, there's a wonderful winery called Roblar that you will love all of the stuff that they do. But what they specialize in is they bought up a zillion little small, very, 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 very old vineyards. So although the vineyard is officially, let's say, Cabernet or Zin or Pinot,
right,
it's got other stuff mixed in, because back 100 years ago, they didn't get that picky about what went in the ground.
No, red blends.
So it becomes a unique blend of its own, strictly from that vineyard. And where other people
they
call those and blend them together rather than what they do, which is bottle them separately.
Only that one vintage, and it's oftentimes just referred to as a domestic red table wine.
Well, with these, they use the predominant grape, but they admit that there's other things in there.
No, indeed. And again,
and they make maybe 350 bottles of the stuff, and when they're gone, they're gone. So, But, we were enjoying one the other night, one of theirs. That was every berry in the universe in your glass, bursting.
I think
Just amazing.
Right now, tonight's particular wine is a Pinot Noir, which that's my favorite. If you guys want to send me something with a complex flavor, Calavet Pinot Noir is delicious.
Been
Yeah,
there.
yeah, and look, I don't like anything that I like sharp, dry finishes. I don't like sweet stuff. So like on a white, like if you give me a Zinfandel or something like that, I'm not going to want something super sweet. And I don't care if you're serving fish or lobster or anything else.
Callaway and Calavet both make a Sur-Lie Chardonnay that's pretty good, where they leave everything in there for a while and it percolates.
Yeah, well, and I just don't want all that sugar content.
No, that's why I like a crispy Gewurz with a lot of things that people sometimes drink Chardonnay with. So because it's got that little bit of grapefruity acid to it, so.
Yeah, we're going to bore the pants very much onto people tonight. Thank you, Sean. It's fine, and I appreciate the super chat. But what's my favorite? Bordeaux?
Gosh, that would be Margaux for me.
Yeah, you can't do better than that, or something that I'm always looking for pairings for red meat, so or venison. So I'm gonna want something that is gonna have a crisp finish that pairs very well with beef. I don't want an overpowering aftertaste in my mouth. In fact, I want to be free of anything that would show up later. So, especially when I'm eating, and the majority of wine I consume is during meal times. So,
yeah, well,
but anyway,
when Mondavi built their installation near Disneyland, it was the Robert Mondavi Center of Food and Wine, not wine and food, and that's what it was about. That's where I've told the story one time talking about Pinots. For Halloween, they did a special invitation-only dinner called Price, Poe, and Pinot. And it was a special dinner matched to all of their great Pinots with Vincent Price there reading Edgar Allan Poe by candlelight. That was an evening to reckon with, indeed. So, there's things like that all over the place if you know where to look. And if you don't, then start looking. You'll find them.
Yeah, and look, there are lovely references to Chateau Latour, especially in the film The Saint, which featured an incredible actor and actress, one of whom have passed away.
You mean Val?
Yeah, Val Kilmer.
That version of The Saint, yeah.
I really appreciated that. I love the television show. I feel like they really did a disservice to the follow-up to that. Have you seen that?
You mean the redo of the TV show?
Yeah.
With, I forget the guy's name. Yeah, it was so-so.
It was not good, and it felt like, wow, you guys destroyed this. Val at least tried to honor it, but R.I.P. Val Kilmer. Well, we need to go on because we're easily distracted.
Let's go on.
You guys, these people understand that I have OCD. So let's talk about this and other things. I'm hyper weirdness.
Is that Blu-ray OCD or is that
I don't know. Anyway. By the way, you see they're remaking the Lifeguard show? That's crazy stuff.
Baywatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they found a way to make the red suits skimpier, I guess. I don't know.
Nuh-uh. They told the people that were coming out for casting not to dress too revealingly. Do you believe that?
I don't know. I don't know what they tell people. I mean, MJ had a thing that they were casting a, I guess it was for a Broadway revival and road company of Wicked in Miami.
Oh, no.
And I thought, well, wait a minute now. With New York is dying, which it is, and Broadway is dying, which it is, are all the actors and singers and chorus boys and girls going to go to Miami because they'll do auditions down there, and if they can't get that, they can get a gig on a cruise ship. So it may signal more than just financial people leaving New York.
Everybody's leaving New York. And look, and that's the other thing, too. I was talking about it the other day. Finance is headed to North Carolina, Florida, Texas. It's headed south. There's a reason. Things are heading south like Sherman right now. Anyway, we have to get into a conversation that's broader because it's an embarrassment for media. You're gonna love this, Lou. You didn't know this was coming.
I never know what's coming.
I'm gonna spring it upon you.
I just take them as they come. Go for it.
Yeah, according to John McAfee News, which is amazing because he's dead. He's a lot dead. Explosive humiliation. Stephen Colbert just got crushed and forced to fork over a staggering $20 million to President Donald J. Trump in a devastating defamation settlement. The sniveling late-night loser is begging for mercy after his vicious lies backfired big time.
I don't know.
So anyway, this is the image.
It seems to be written a little inflammatorily.
I think it is. I think they added extra inflammation.
But you did say that somebody asked him what he's going to do once his show ends, which they now have an official date, May something.
Yeah.
And he put up the possibility of running for office. And my reply was, what, dog catcher?
Probably. But look, I mean, if he stays in L.A., he could be governor.
I don't know. I'd like to see a loser leaves town cage match with him and Swalwell. I'm just going to say this is not listed as parody, so we're supposed to take it seriously. And he said, and I quote, according to the statement, I said some truly terrible things. Sounds like Amber Heard moment. And for that, I offer the president my apologies. Okay. I hope it's true, but I have my doubts from the style of the writing. So
yeah. I feel like everything here is probably more inflammatory than what I've presented already. So we're gonna walk away from this one. I just thought it would be fun to talk about.
All right. Well, I'm open to fun,
but really,
trust but verify, as the saying goes.
It's true. Yeah, I feel like that's a very Reagan thing to say right now. By the way, that's something Reagan did say. When we were dealing with the Russians. Mr. President, tear down that wall. Remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about the president tearing down a wall and perhaps a media company. BBC is going to be our news source for the last story of the evening. For those of you out there, they're not reliable.
Our alleged source for the alleged news.
Well, it's something. What do you want me to say? I have to we only have X number of sources to get information from. And a day ago, they're covering the fact that this Sarandos fella in the co-CEO. Do you realize Reed Hastings left at a time when he could maximize his running away cash and his
as would you or I,
and stay blameless?
Did you see what the cat that Sarandos let out of the bag? There's a clip of Ted Cruz.
Oh, Superman!
Yeah.
No!
It's like, are you going to keep the window? Oh, absolutely. Unless it's not selling any tickets, then we yank it quick and put it on streaming. It's basically bottom line what he said, although he danced around it. Oh, they also asked him, by the way, do you think we're sitting on stolen land? With reference
I saw that. And that was great. And he's like,
boy.
I don't know the history of the land we're sitting on.
I saw one wag say that Billie Eilish's solution to this situation is to open an Indian casino in her mansion.
Actually, I think she may have, because I think the sheriff actually served her with eviction.
No. The story is there is a famous "I'll get the squatters out of your house" eviction lawyer in L.A. I forget his name, or I'd mention it. And he put up an open thing saying, any member of that tribe, call me, we'll sue on your behalf. So it's great advertising for him. And
look, the moment you tell people I'm living on stolen land, you got a problem. You got a problem, because those were the Tongva Indians. That's where
I don't know who they are, because growing up in Southern California, we were told it was the Yangna.
Yeah.
And they lived in Wickiups.
Yeah,
and I never heard of the Tongva unless they're the Yangna.
It'd be. Well, and here's the weird thing. I mean, growing up in certain parts of the desert Southwest, California, places like that, you become familiar with the various tribes that occupied the land. You also become familiar with their history, which is of kicking each other's ass to take each other's land.
There you go. There you go.
Sorry, I said a bad word. Everybody, please
Which
allow
was that?
me.
Kicking is a bad word?
No, the booty word. I said
Oh,
the
that
booty
one.
word. Yeah. Anyway, we have to
this
take
is where we are inferior to the Brits because we don't say arsh or whatever they say.
arse.
But,
arse.
yeah.
Look, I have an arsenal of
unless you're
vocabulary.
MGM, then it's ass gracia ass. Arsh gracia.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I feel like we had a whole lot of arse.
By the way,
what?
Totally off subject. Did you see the story about the French hospital that had a man show up with a World War I live artillery?
Oh,
shell up
yeah, a
his
shell
booty?
stuffed up his keister.
Yeah.
That seems explosively.
Kids, don't do that at home. That's
No,
all
I
I'm
feel
saying.
like you could have explosive diarrhea. I'm just
I
saying.
guess so. I guess
All right.
so.
Anyway, let's get to this story because we got to wrap up. I can't believe we're already at an hour. I blame you for this. We had too much fun.
That's okay.
We have to
That's okay.
stop. We have to stop having fun.
There is, by the way, a story that I remember about the guy who's infatuated with a proctologist who is straight, and the guy is gay.
Oh,
and
no.
He keeps making appointments, and he keeps coming on to him. Finally, he bans him from his offices. Never show up again.
Oh, boy.
And one day he thinks he's finally rid of him, but then he gets a call saying, "It's your Hippocratic oath. I have a medical emergency." He says, "Okay." So he gets there. He says, "What's the problem?" He pulls down his pants, and there's a dozen roses shoved up his posterior. And the doctor says, "What the hell is this?" And the guy says, "Read the card. Read the card." Ba-dum-bum. Anyway, this is why you come to this show, folks. For
Why?
humor.
I walked into that. Okay. All right. Let's do. I love you. All right. Let's go. I can't. You don't understand. There's going to be a time and place where you're going to see the two of us together in the same room, and it's not going to get better.
Absolutely not. At least until the wine runs out, which will be never.
It'll definitely not get better. Yeah, because then I'm going to go to the scotch, and then we're done for. All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, let's get to this because this is for real. Okay, this is really this was motivating. Caitlan Clark. I keep saying Clark. Why do I do
Danielle
it?
K.
Caitlan Collins is something that definitely drives me to drink. But this guy, he went to Congress and looked unprepared. Sounded unprepared. So Netflix and Warner Brothers are struggling to defend merger. Now, mind you,
prepare. He never prepares.
this is from the BBC.
No,
These
but I'm
are
just
supposed
telling
to
you,
be the friendlies.
this guy Sarandos is the Joker. Some men just want to watch the world burn. I'm convinced of it. He just doesn't care.
Oh, he also lied his face off about the kids programming he features. But let's set all that aside for now. Politics aside, he was not prepared. So he struggled to defend a merger. Now, Lou, the BBC is super in favor of this. This is not a headline you would expect from them. So Danielle K is probably taking her life into her own hands. And look, and I know for most situations, it's the editor that writes the headline, not the writer. But Netflix struggled to reassure skeptical lawmakers that its proposed $82 billion takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery would benefit consumers, workers, and the broader entertainment industry. Now, we often forget, Lou, at least most people do, that it's not just the U.S. you have to make satisfied for mergers of this type at this scale because you're influencing many markets simultaneously. You have to, make the EU happy. You have to make the UK happy. You got to make Canada happy, and you got to make Australia happy.
New Zealand, everybody. Yeah, all the English speaking and some of the non-English speaking world. So
yeah, especially since they've expanded their operations globally, and they do content in Portuguese, they do content in Korean. It's like by doing that, they've exposed themselves to more scrutiny. That's a fancy way to say you got to make a lot of people happy. So on Tuesday, members of the U.S. Senate Antitrust Subcommittee, who are definitely going to go visiting up your rectum and looking for unpleasant aromas, they raised concerns both Republicans and Democrats, about the reduced competition, potential price rises, and the future of cinemas if the merger goes ahead. So the deal, which is currently under review by the Department of Justice, which is going to give them the big middle finger, would get Netflix control of Warner Brothers Film and Television Studios, as well as the HBO Max streaming service. Don't they already have a streaming service?
Yeah,
Lou?
I think so. It's called Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rival bidder, which has a much less significant streaming service, is Paramount Skydance. They're pushing for their competing offer to buy the company and basically essentially a forced takeover of the board. Different conversation. But the senator is questioning highlighted bipartisan opposition to the merger. Now, when they say bipartisan, Lou, what's the simple explanation for that as I pull this off the screen?
The simple explanation is simply this. When he says 45 days, and the but is, if it don't sell tickets, we better get it on streaming in a hurry. The but is, if you like Superman or you like Batman or you like any of these IPs, Harry Potter, whatever, you're going to have to buy a subscription to our service, which we can charge whatever the hell we want for. And what happens? Theaters close. Whether theaters close or just limit their offerings or whatever happens, that's less people working in that theater. That's less people working in that mall food court. That's less people working in the parking lot.
Yes.
And all of that is less tax revenue to the city, to the state, to the feds, whether you're red, blue, green, or anything else. And that is how you get Donald Trump and Pocahontas on the same side of this issue.
Well, and this is something I've brought up from the very beginning, is when you reduce this competition, when you remove filmmakers from the market, which is certainly what this would do. I don't care what Ted Sarandos says about giving you a more than 17-day window or extending it to 45 days. That's an unreliable promise by an unreliable guy who's not fulfilled a whole lot of promises in the course of his career. Set all of that aside. It's the fact that the impact to the industry is not disputable. You have to have a dedicated studio release first entity, or you're writing off an entire third of production.
Yeah.
They can't afford to do that.
Well, this whole thing is about bodies in seats versus seats in your living room.
Yeah.
So let me give you an idea also, because when we do the genre guys, which I hope everybody enjoys, we go out of our way to do movies that we wish you would buy the hard copies of, because things can be adulterated, and sometimes for reasons that you would not even think. I just finished reading, and I mentioned this on another show. I'm trying to bring a picture up and I can't do it, but a new book by Eric Larson, who is one of the great historians of our time, because he writes history like it's a pulsating novel. He's brilliant. And it's called The Demon of Unrest, and it's all about the beginnings of the Civil War and Fort Sumter.
Right.
And of course, Abraham Lincoln figures very prominently. And I thought, you know what I haven't seen in a long time? I'd like to go see that Spielberg movie about Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis. So I go to Amazon, and what do I find? The only version available is a version where the, quote, harsh language has been toned down. Now, I imagine it was done so that schools could show it.
Right.
But still, if that's the only version I can see, this is a cancer on creativity. This whole thing of editing and suppressing and reducing.
And when you control all of the content, then you control the messaging, you control what stories can and can't be told, and you can revise it going backwards, which is already happening.
You bet.
And look, let's take a look at this from the other side. You and I have been talking about consumers. We've been talking about the competition itself, but why is competition beyond everything else it affects, like you and I know, the restaurant market and the retail market, why that's a huge aspect, but we're forgetting about working within the industry itself, which I know you didn't forget about, but I I certainly haven't been talking about the way I should be. When Mike Lee got out there, he said consolidating two major employers within the same market inevitably has an impact on and can significantly weaken competition for that labor.
Of course.
So if you're a union right now, Lou, and well, I mean, I'm not going to talk about unions with you because I know you're extensively familiar with them. If you're in a union right now, or you're a union leader, or you're anybody that's a part of the membership, you understand that if you get two employers merging, there's less jobs.
I'll give you a good idea when it's happened in the past. One of the years that I was negotiating one of the major contracts was the year that NBC and Universal merged. Okay?
Yeah.
Now you had represented at the negotiations, you had the HR person from NBC and you had the HR person from Universal, both of which knew that 3 years hence, when the next negotiations came around, one of them would be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the competition amongst themselves, let alone with the other side of the table that they're negotiating with, was extreme.
But there's language for that, right? For a reduction in force because of the magic word. Here it is: redundancy.
Redundancy.
And look, if you've ever been eliminated from a position because you are redundant, all they're saying is there's too many people doing your job.
Or we found a way to do it with a computer instead of with you.
Yeah, well, or AI these days.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. But I mean, let's remember that everybody who works at a studio probably has a gardener, a babysitter, a dry cleaner. They go to restaurants. They do all kinds of things that further the economy. And if that's not there, Sean, the formerly artist, etc., said, imagine what cities will have to do with the boarded up closed movie theaters. There's worse to it than that. Here's why. Most malls are brought in with these anchor stores, like Saks, which just went out of business, like all the other big boxes.
Well, yeah, okay.
And they give them a huge tax break for doing it. So if the motivating factor was AMC's putting 14 theaters here, but suddenly there aren't, the tax break's already left the barn. You see what I mean?
So, let's talk about how the modern multiplex came about. You had malls. Malls had anchors. Anchors were big stores that appealed to the broadest market. And with that, you had diverse audiences of all economic ranges that would, you could solicit business from, who were going to attend a movie or go to a restaurant or go to the food court or whatever it was that you happen to be offering.
And let's go an hour early and go to XYZ store and look at that new thing we wanted or whatever it was. Exactly. Yeah. It was a motivator to get people to come there.
And it's gone. It's gone. The malls are gone. Malls have been gone for a little while in most states. The biggest one in the universe recently in California closed because they had no tenants.
Yeah.
CBRE is looking at a 50% occupancy.
And the same thing is happening to all these office buildings in downtowns all across the country, because if they're telling people work from home, they're not stopping at the dry cleaner. They're not having lunch from the bodega down the street. They're not making any of that activity happen.
And when news organizations are presenting headlines like Netflix and Warner Brothers struggle to defend merger, it tells you that the news media is not even on board with this because they understand the ramifications as they themselves are being replaced, removed, and marginalized. Marginalized is a big word. I'm going to say it this way. The reason the Washington Post just lost 1/3 of all positions today.
Yeah.
Is
and what did they get rid of is interesting. They got rid of the arts. They got rid of sports. They got rid of everything other than quote unquote news.
Yeah, because people are not paying attention to the things that they want you to focus on, because you don't matter anymore.
If you have restaurant coverage, who advertises? Restaurants. If you don't have it, they don't. So it's going to ripple through it's going to cost them more.
Food critics, there's a million food critics. Go to YouTube. That's us. There's a million people that can talk about wine. Go to YouTube. There's a million people that
we're talking about.
Yeah, there's a million people that talk about film, television. I mean, and many of us have quite solid opinions. Some of us have worked in the industry, and some of us tried very hard. But look, all I can say is that my limited success in gaming was not in the area that I thought it would be. And then when I start to talk about like the other aspects of my career, most of it wasn't tied to entertainment the way I thought it would be either. So, when I eventually
the tenor is changing, and here's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching a lot of these YouTube channels of Europeans coming to America and sharing their experiences of America.
Yeah.
They start off amazed. They usually do one about, well, here's all the lies they told us in Europe.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, God, we love the barbecue and we love going to Walmart.
It blows their mind.
Buc-ee's. But here's what's changing.
Yeah.
3 of them that I know that never had any intention, it was strictly tourism.
They're moving here.
Are now putting up things saying, should we move?
Yeah.
Should we?
Yeah. And look, and for those of you who weren't familiar with the story, I got to throw this up here right now. Bezos moves to purge leftist activists from the Washington Post. That's about as strong a headline as you're going to see. Of course, it's coming from Muse, but it's a strong take on what actually happened today. 1/3 of those people are no longer employed. It's not that they were terrible at their job. It's that they were no longer relevant. They weren't
and all the support services. If you have 1/3 as many people in the newsroom, you need 1/3 as many IT people to service their computers.
Yeah.
You need 1/3 as many janitors to clean the office. Everything ripples through.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is people don't understand the ripples. But most importantly, do you understand, Lou? I think I do. We had a lovely day here. We're looking for any last minute super duper chats. Anything that I missed? Did I miss? What did I miss? Did I get this one? Did we talk about Snarky? I think we talked about
that.
Snarky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
did we get this one?
We can make a last pitch for saying there's so much more out there, and some of it's actually on my Patreon, which is lewsviews at patreon.com or vice versa.
True.
And you can find it. And what the heck? Give me a try. Make my mother happy. I told the story. My mother said, "You're doing all this stuff. Can't you make any money at it?" And I said, "Oh, come on, Mom." She said, "No, can't you?" Well, I mentioned that on here. And the other day, my mother, who is 98, I said, "Mom, I told everybody you said that." She died laughing. She just absolutely. So you made my mom happy by not doing it. Make her happier and go ahead and spend the $5 a month for whatever may cross my mind. And who knows?
Well, all I know is I had a lovely time, and these are conversations that we need to have more regularly. And you need to focus in on what Lou has to say. So being a subscriber to his Patreon gives you a lot of insight you wouldn't get anywhere else. His understanding, his connection, and his experience shines through over there, and oftentimes over on Pro's show.
Well,
if you're not,
I always say, look, I have had the genes to live a long time and will for many, many, many more. I have had the luck to be in the right place at the right time, and I've had the sense to remember what I saw and draw some interesting conclusions. That's all. That's enough, but that's, I'm not famous, and I don't intend to be famous.
No.
And I am not, nobody's coming to me to run the studios. If they did, I could tell them a few things that would make sense. But if they have to ask, they can't afford me, right?
Yeah.
But anyway,
indeed.
Yes, they can. Call me. Call my people. I'll talk to your people.
There you go.
Somebody I know used to say, "Let's take lunch and not give it back."
If you can't get away with it, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but it's just when you're around something long enough and you pay attention.
Yeah. It's
astounding. Has always been to me astounding how many people in my business pay no attention whatsoever to what's going on.
Well, it's almost like they don't understand all the elements that are required to make them successful. It's why the adage that we talk about all the time, that 1,000 things when you're making a film have to go right. It only takes one to make it destroyed, to make it not happen, to derail it all.
But one leads to another, because if it went that wrong, it was probably somebody in a position of authority screwing up, and they probably rippled through their whole panoply of responsibility. So, I mean, I've worked with people who had limited talent, but they had me to help them fix it. So, what can I say?
Sometimes it's just limited brain power. I mean, let's be fair. I mean,
the little gray cells, eh?
Hey, look, if man, good Lord, who made Showgirls? I want to say it was
was that
Joel Schumacher?
Schumacher or Verhoeven, or one of those guys?
Verhoeven, Peter Verhoeven, yeah,
it
was Verhoeven.
Which we just on the genre guys, we just did Total Recall.
He's not with us anymore. But that particular film needed 4 points of redirection, and it would have been much better. And
people would still call it a movie about bimbos, and who cares?
It would have worked.
So,
it would have worked.
Well,
it would have made a lot more money.
But and it's funny because my next, I'll give you a preview. Lew's Views is going to be an expansion of what I mentioned when we did Total Recall, and that is this: Total Recall has virtually no CGI, certainly no AI. It's all of those Rob Bottin physical things that make Arnold's face blow up and make that lady he's hiding in fall apart. And by the way, did you know that the Johnny Cab, you remember the Johnny Cab in that? Do you know who did the voice and whose face was modeled for it?
No.
Robert Picardo.
That makes sense.
So he was a robot before he was a robot. But anyway, my point was,
oh wow, he's also a terrible human being on Starfleet Academy
of his free ride, so he's upset. But the lady with the 3 breasts, nobody believed those were 3 breasts.
Hey.
None of that. All that stuff was a Tex Avery cartoon. But
hey, come on.
But it worked. Wait, it worked because it was fun.
Yeah.
And AI has not been able to master fun, and therein lies the difference.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, there are hollow moments in everything that feels like a big CGI, and I will say that is no more obvious than it was in Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania.
There you go.
Yeah, because that was shot in a Kraftwerk, whatever you want to call it. It was shot in the dome of screen backgrounds.
Yeah.
And in real time, in screen CGI, and it feels, because it is, very flat.
And I will add to that because what the heck, we're here.
Yeah, please.
People always thought, I did a lot of sitcoms in my day, a lot of live in front of an audience sitcoms. And people always thought that the audience was there for the laughs.
Oh,
nope. We sweetened the laughs like crazy.
Yeah.
The audience was there to give the feedback to the actors to leave room for the laughs. In other words, it's an interaction. And if you're 2 people in front of a screen with 8,000 nothings behind you, how do you interact with that? As great as you can be, how the hell do you interact with that? So there is something, those people are being deprived of the ability to be better than they wind up being, because what they're doing is not acting. It's, I don't know, it's pantomime, Anyway, you get the idea.
Yeah, and I will say this as we wrap up. Go check out the new Patreon that Lew has been doing a wonderful job with, and check out the former host, VashSky, who has
his channel premieres with its first stuff tomorrow, I'm told.
That's right. Yeah, the VashSky cast starts tomorrow. And if you have extra time and you just want to hear me, my dulcet tones, tomorrow I'm dropping a video on what is destined to be a failure, the Super Bowl halftime show, and Bad Bunny. You're not going to want to miss this one.
Well, we'll watch Erica Kirk's version, so,
That's where I'm going to be. I'm not even going to watch the football game. Different conversation. Everybody, thank you for being with us for the studio Backlot. It's a weird tour, but it's just for you. Have a great night. We'll see you.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture. But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Brevity Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.